I'm not sharing my video because I look terrible. I look like a hobo.
If you want to show your video,
You
I can
don't
put it
want
up,
to
but if
see
you
me
don't,
this time
it's
in the
fine.
morning.
Most people don't. It's fine. Want to share their screen? Not most people don't want to see. I have come up with the greatest idea for Doctor
Awesome.
Legacy. By
Go
the
for
way,
it.
you've probably heard it a million times before, but I haven't heard anyone mention it before, so I'm going to mention it to you. Okay, how about this? So last night I was trying to improve my Doctor Who Legacy ability, yeah, and so I was challenging myself, like I said, to get 4 combos every single time I took the turn, and it was actually quite a challenge because you get 4 combos quite a lot, but getting one every turn is a bit of a struggle. Then I thought, well, what about if Doctor Who Legacy had like a survival mode where like the challenge was to get, I don't know, like at the beginning it could be like at least 2 combos a turn, at least 3, and then at least 3, and then at least 4. But every time you fail to get the required number of combos a turn, you take a certain amount of health damage, but that's irreversible. So unlike normal levels, you can't like regain your health, but then it's just like a survival thing. How many turns can you go for getting at least 4 combos every single turn? And you could have a high score leaderboard with like who's managed to last. Because with your wonderful community, some people would be on like 100, 200, 300 turns, just consistently hitting like 4 combos or 5 combos a turn. You could have like an easy one, which is like get 3 combos a turn, and then you could have like a hard one, which is get like 5 or 6 or something like that. But it could, it could be like a level which kind of teaches you to improve your gem matching ability while also challenging you to consistently get combos in the game.
That's cool. I like the idea. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. We're putting in a practice area in the fan level in the fan area next week, which is just sort of somebody you can go up against and pound away on, and they're not going to do, they're not going to kill you, just for as a practice area. But I like the idea of having something more structured with a leaderboard. One thing we didn't do at launch.
You could have like an unlock in it, but to get the unlock, you have to, or you could even, I don't know if it's possible to code it, but you could have like maybe 2 or 3 unlocks in the level, and you get one of the unlocks if you get to like something easy, like, I don't know, 20 turns, and then one of the unlocks if you get to like 50, and then one of the unlocks if you get to like 200 turns, or something that's really quite challenging to survive for.
I like the idea. I've talked to the tech team. They're just finishing off the new build. We have a new build coming out in the next few weeks, which has some new bits and pieces in there, new enemy abilities for the story, for the Bastion Narada, and new ability to counter that for River Song. And we have the new 1-turn buff system coming in. There's a bunch of tech stuff coming in. But after that...
So is that a new ability to go with the existing River Song, or a new River Song?
A new River Song. We're calling it Professor River Song, right from her last day on this planet, sort of thing. But she leads the group when the Doctors vanish. So it's...
Oh, okay. So she's a
yeah. So we have a bunch of levels where you're going up against the Shadows and Library, and she has the ability that counters them. So she has very specific use on the team as you make your way through the Library, which we're looking forward to. The new story stuff, getting it all approved, nearly there. So it's looking good.
So what I was trying to do yesterday was, because obviously when I'm mainly playing with you guys, I'm more kind of talking to you guys and kind of playing in the background, but what I'm trying to do is slow my gameplay down, especially on a non-time attack level, and actually kind of go, right, so where are the 5 combos minimum I'm going to get? And, because I remember when you guys came, I've spoken to you since, but it's a real shame I didn't get to see you guys over Christmas. I'm sorry you're...
I know we really wanted to come out.
But I remember one of you guys did make it to us last summer, and just seeing how fast you guys... I mean, I think I was talking to someone about it last night, and I don't think from watching you play that you necessarily plan your turns out very far in advance. You just tended to kind of just whiz around the board very, very quickly, putting combos kind of as you went, was how I think you played. I think you've played a lot more than me.
I try to find... I quickly look at a board and try to find some areas where I can make shapes very quickly, and then I just launch into it. So with this one, so you'd start in the bottom right and get those greens, and then those greens on the left, and then you have those blacks. Yeah, that's probably the best move you could make with that board.
A nice 5 times combo and things like that. I'm also trying to do things like although it didn't work at that time, but the red that I was holding, although it wasn't possible to make a red combo, I left it at the top of the board on top of another red. There's always that tiny chance that another red might drop on top of it.
Yeah,
and things like that.
Exactly. That's some of the more sort of experty stuff when you start trying to put things in optimal positions for later on. Start bunching colors together, even though they don't match. Something being a little bit closer is always helpful, or something, having two vertically with the chance of something dropping in is always super useful.
And I was having a bit of, we're really kind of going involved, especially putting the combo stuff, was taking something like that big chunk of reds that's currently in the middle, especially against a single enemy like this, and actually rather than having one large combo, trying to split it into two. So if I take that green that's in the top left-hand side of the board, go right through the blacks, and then split up those reds by coming down and pulling them into two, one combo on the left and one combo on the right, and actually increase the total amount of damage I would do to the guy.
I think this board, you want to start with that green, go to the right, bring it down, make that whole horizontal red, and then make the green, make the yellow, and see where you are. Because that'll clear most of the board. You want to, there is a lot of clearing the board you need to do to get stuff to drop in. And when anything drops in, there's a 1 in 6 chance of it being a color that you need. So if you're going with a monocolor team, you need to clear a lot to keep getting that one color to come in. But you should just be trying to just clear the board as much as possible. There you go. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew. So do you have like when you do the expert levels, and when you do, playing through your own seasons, do you have your own favorite team, which you kind of go back to as like your default team, or do you, being the designer, do you kind of...
I try not to. What I found is if I have a favorite team, it's very easy to end up balancing levels against that team. You really need to try with a bunch of different combinations. When I'm balancing the very early stuff, sort of level 20 content, people could walk in with anything. Yeah. So I try to go in with a team with no synergy. It's like if I can beat this with the barest use of abilities where nothing's really clicking in terms of one character supporting another one through their abilities, and I can get through it, then there's a lot of leeway for people to go in with a properly constructed team and get through that content. And I think for early levels, the bare minimum should be you can go in with anything, but you should get a nice advantage by walking in with a team that you've actually put together. So the early levels, I try to just throw stuff together, primarily making sure they really don't work together in too good a way. Through the middle levels, I tend to just jump around with teams just to make sure things work. Try to create teams of the right level that I haven't really put together before. Because there's so many combinations in this game, it gets a bit crazy to try to design like that. And at the high end, I do have a couple of teams for expert that I play, that I put together, but I do try to cycle things in and out. But it's a bit harder at the high end because you do need very specifically created teams with perks. So I do have a couple of really solid teams, mono and dual color teams that I use just to get a grasp on the expert levels. So I take a Kraken when I can beat it and it feels very hard, and then I throw it at Susan, and then I'm like, ha, you can play this now. So yesterday I threw an hour and a half. She was sat there playing one of the expert levels that I just trying to finish off hopefully next week, and she was banging her head against a wall. So next week may be quite hard, but people have been asking for harder expert levels. So we should have.
Well, I spent the stream I did on Monday night. I think it was. We spent a good hour and a half just on one level, and obviously that was like the first expert level I'd done. So obviously it's going to take longer, but we enjoyed it. It was as they're designed to be. It was a puzzle rather than just like something to.
That's exactly right. The game was supposed to be like the board and the situation asks the question, and your answer to that is the team makeup. And your skill level when you walk in. And it does shine a bit more in the expert levels, because earlier in the game you can't really have that too much without becoming too complex. The game does ramp up, as you go through the levels, but the expert area is where it gets tricky and fun in a tricky way. Because I don't like a lot of puzzle games, but I like gem matching games a lot.
Do you have lots of ideas for expert levels still kind of in the pipeline, or do you ever find, because it is all kind of based around the idea of gem matching? Do you find you ever start to kind of run low on ideas?
No. I think I think the core game is really fun anyway, just to keep playing. But I think we put a lot of effort into new things coming in, new abilities, even little things to make you feel a bit different. One thing we're adding is for enemies to be able to take the first turn, which sounds really minor, but it feels really different when you start playing it, and they do something at the start of the game that you immediately have to. You don't have that free turn to get a big combo off at the beginning anymore. Sometimes when an enemy throws something at you on their first turn, so it's keeping it a little fresh like that, a little bit different. Like talking about the new River Song character, one thing I really want to do, while she has a very solid and specific use in the storyline, the other place we could use her in is an expert level. Have a really nice sort of River Song balanced expert level you can use her in, and get some more use out of her. So there's always new things coming up that we can put into these, and you'll see it. Well, you can see it now if you go to the early expert levels. They are getting more complex as you go through them, and different things are kicking off and new abilities are being added that change up.
With the levels that where the enemy takes the first turn, are you going to build that into the plot line, almost like a kind of an ambush?
That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought about it, but there is a bit in the next. About a third of the way through the next chapter, we have a big unit section. It's like 10, 12 levels of just unit stuff of going through, the deepest, darkest unit history and grabbing some great characters out of there and having a storyline where the Brigadier is sort of leading his troops a little bit. And they do get ambushed in that. So that could be some way to use it. I think that's a cool idea.
It also crucially slows down your ability charging as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's right. It changes. It's nice. It's a neat little thing, but changes everything. And it's just one of the things we're trying to get in there. These little small changes, like the one-turn buff system. It's a neat little thing that makes you change your gameplay just a little bit. Hey, I just got this really cool buff. It's really useful in that sort of situation. Maybe I'll go and use it to try to get that drop. Now I've got a greatly increased chance to get a drop, or I have a load more hit points that I can go and do that level. That's just having issues with earlier.
So give me a hand with this board here. This is one of those boards where, there's the odd little combo here and there, which is very, very obvious. But for me, it's a harder one to string together 4 or 5 combos. What are you seeing?
Start top left with that blue, and go through the red, and then get those 3 blacks.
How would you get those 3 blacks? How would you get them together?
I would.
Would you link them up on the left-hand side or horizontally at the top?
I would do it right underneath the reds. So you want to go straight down and then up the next column and then keep doing a circle around there. So you're just pushing those blacks together. It only take a couple of seconds.
So you literally line them up directly.
Yeah, you can just keep doing a counterclockwise sort of loop. You go down and then up and then pull the back and pull that one up and then do another loop and pull them all together. And then you've got an easy blue that'll still be there. That'll be untouched on the bottom right.
Easy, and you can go through the pinks as well. So probably by the time you do all those 12s.
Yeah, so you probably get the reds and the black stacked underneath them, and then grab that pink as you go right, and then down to get the blue. You get 4.
Okay, that's good. No, good tips. Okay, so we go. So let me get this in my head. So I'm going to go straight down through the blacks, bring the black up, twirl it. Okay, right, here we go. So I can see if I can do this. There's going to be a lot of spinning and pirouetting in this one. Through the pinks, down through the blues.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then with a little bit of luck, a bit more.
I don't think there was anything else you could have. One thing is sort of spatially trying to condense things into the sides and corners to give you more room without tripping over the matches you've made before.
That's actually a really good tip and an important one, because there's been quite a few ones that I was looking at yesterday where it was like, well, I can see that match and that match and that match, but then I'm literally stuck in the box of the matches.
Yeah, so this one, if you start with the top left and go down, and then go right underneath the green, then up to the black, and then make that 3 green, and then to the right, that gives you 3 yellows. But all the matches are sort of up in the top two.
And then you can go right through
and
the
then
yellows.
Down, and then you have a bit of playing at the bottom.
You
can get the things together, maybe. Depends what that looks like after you blue down it. But you can probably do that's 3, that's 4. You'll be able to do without too much trouble.
And then can I do the reds? No, not without disrupting the blacks.
There you go. I would call that a solid move. If you can pull off those sort of moves every turn, that's the sort of skill level you should be close to when you're trying the harder stuff at the end of the game.
So what kind of number of combos would you say you average out?
Turns? I don't know. Probably 4 or 5.
It would be weird too hard to get. You know when you play Battlefield, you get like a KD ratio, and it's like very important, like Battlefield players and COD players to be like, well, you should have like a average combo ratio that of course you can reset for a time crystal, but you can have it as like your Doctor Who Legacy statistics page. What's your combo ratio? 415. Like a. This is a good idea. You should be writing down my ideas, Lee. I'm in an ideas mood today. And I've got another one for you, which occurred to me while you were talking earlier about you mentioned using. You mentioned starting on getting the enemy to attack first, which of course slows down your ability to charge your abilities. Have you considered having enemies whose special attack is to either slow down your abilities or remove your abilities? Like, so if you've got so like it kills any flashing abilities when it attacks.
No, I haven't. That sounds really cool, but could be fun. That's sort of that's when we launched the game, blind was held back as an ability because it's a more complex thing that you can really struggle with that at the beginning of the game if you don't know the game, and that's like getting rid of ability. That seems like something that should come a bit later, like having an ability, seed in.
But you could play around it though, because if you could see it coming, if it was like one of those ones that had like say 3 enemies in it. But the enemy was going to attack in 3 turns, but you could see in 3 turns your abilities were going to be wiped. You could play, as a player, you can play around that. You could try and kill that enemy before he does it, or you could make sure you use your abilities the turn before. There's a strategic ability. What do you guys in the chat think? Do you think that sounds like an interesting ability, or do you agree with Lee?
No, I think it's a very interesting ability. And actually, as soon as you start designing like that, and you're thinking, well, there's all these choices. Good gameplay is all about just giving users choices of what they can do, of fun things that could happen, like the whole scenario you just described. And if you can describe it in your head like that, then it's probably going to be solid gameplay.
I think I only got 3 that time, but I did have lock gems, so I'm happy with that. Justin's highlighted Andy gives Lee an idea for Doctor Who Legacy that makes it harder. Yes. Andy shoots himself in the foot live on stream.
So you want to get rid of these yellows because they're horrible. Although he's about to power down something else. Maybe yellows again. I can't remember what he did. It's been a long time since I designed this level.
Yeah, well, this is why I want to. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Doctor Who Legacy streams happening on ad hoc at the moment as Addy tries to get back to where he should be. If I change the yellow colours, they still stay.
Yes.
Deep powered, don't they? Okay, so I need to match them then. Not
but the next turn you might do the same thing again. You may want to just leave that for a minute and clear the rest of the stuff, and then do all the yellows at once.
Okay. How would you deal with, or would you ignore down the bottom left? There's a really obvious red combo with the 3 vertical, but then there's a really obvious green combo which goes horizontal through it. Would you go for one or the other, or is there a route which
start with the yellow, go right one, up one, right one, down one, right one. Bottom left.
Which yellow?
Go right one, up one, right one, down one, right one.
Oh, okay. So you'd match the reds horizontally along the bottom, not you'd. Okay, I see what you're doing.
And then you can go up and grab the greens on the right, grab the blacks on the way towards the left, and then mess around with the yellows. Maybe you have a yellow on you, so that gives you 4 or 5.
Hang on, let me see how. So I go yellow to the right. And I know. On my screen, I should point at the screen. So I'm going to start with this yellow here. You can't see me pointing, but the people watching the stream. I'll start with this yellow here.
One, down one, right.
I need like a little. Hang on, where's my laser? Oh, I can use my laser pointer. Hang on, this is about to be the greatest stream of all time. If I use my laser pointer on the green screen behind me, it actually appears on. I realized this the other day. I was doing this company, very nice company, sent me this laser pointer to review on the channel, and then I realized that you can actually point. If I pointed at the green screen behind me, because everything's green except the laser pointer, I can actually point at things on the screen, which is pretty damn awesome. I mean, obviously I could use my mouse, but let's not be silly. Damn it. My hand is too, twitchy. Too twitchy. I'll forget it. Fine. Greatest idea of all time was bollock. Okay, and I'll get rid of. Oh, I could have got those blues as well. Man, still a 5 combo though. Woo! So do you? I know you do this a little bit from what I've talked about you in the talked to you about in the past. But how much are you currently working on things you don't tell us about, as opposed to the things which you tell us about that are upcoming? Like, how much of your work is like on secret stuff, and how much of your work is on the current stuff?
We try to talk a lot about what we have coming up. The problem right now is we have 2 big storylines kicking off. We have the new chapter of the main story, which is we have planned out as a big 6-month odd arc. 3 weeks. We're getting final approval on the first chunk of that story, which will run through sort of February, March, April. But I don't really want to talk too much about it because it hasn't been approved yet. And then it's going to be sort of how much do we talk about it without giving stuff away. At a high level, it's much more, I would say, much more action packed, and we're trying to do big set pieces. Like what? I can't give it.
Are you going to crash
There's
the
this
Enterprise?
big set piece that'll be coming about sort of 10 weeks into the story, which for about 7 levels is basically the same thing on the screen, but it's a big epic chase that's happening around you. And I hope it's awesome, because it's awesome on paper and sounds great in my head. But until we build it out, we won't know. But we have these bigger sort of chunks coming that make it feel a little bit different, because it's the name of the game is making it feel a bit different now. The same, but with things you've never seen before. So we can't talk too much about that, but the high-level storyline for all of that has been written and approved, and it's big. It's that's probably about 150 levels. It's a big chunk of story. It's big and epic, and it's the fall of the Master, and it leads up to what comes next, and then where we go with the story after that. So I'm really excited that's all been approved at a high level. Now I just have to write it all. The first chunk that's to be approved any day, and then we have bigger on the inside, which the high level for that was approved last year. The first chapter of that script was approved about 2 days ago, and now we're going to start building out all these cool pixel assets. So we have all that whole chunk of stuff is lining up the next 6 months of game. Apart from that, we're working on more expert levels and more basically levels for all chunks of the game. We have new Titan stuff coming, which is going to be awesome. And then, as we said the other day, there's been a big move on Torchwood, and the possibility of doing a Torchwood-style, non-free-to-play puzzle game, which we can't talk much about because there's a lot of contract stuff going on. But when we can talk about it, we will. And that's taking up a lot of time right now, but it's awesome.
If I could pause you for a minute on that, and I do want to hear more, because I need to ask loads of questions about Torchwood, which you're going to avoid answering. For this board here, at the moment, I'm thinking of pulling one of the gems from the bottom left-hand corner. I'm not sure if I want to take the green one, the yellow one, or the pink one. The bottom left, yeah? And then match up the greens horizontally, and then move to the right, and then go up through the reds to make a horizontal line, and then to come back across and do something with the blues there, and then maybe link back up. Otherwise it's looking a bit fragmented. What are you
I would do that, but I would start with the red in the bottom left, go down, right, then finish the greens.
Oh, I see, to match up more.
To get those 4 greens, and then up it gives you 3 reds, and then you'll get 3 or 4 blues. That's 11 gems you clear. Maybe 2 rows. I don't think you'll get. You might be able to. Depends where things end up at the end. You might be able to scratch something out.
I think I was working. I could have moved that red down one. I think I was working mainly yesterday on the number of combos, not necessarily extending the length of those combos. But you're right. If I've got 4 blue gems near each other, you might as well stick them all in, because then you might be more likely to get something to drop from the top, or more stuff next time.
That was a massive timequake, and it caused the Paradox to power back up. We must redouble our efforts.
The Third Doctor speaks a lot in this 3rd season. It's not a complaint at all, because I love doing stupid impressions of him. But he seems to be like the technical guru of the ones that in the way you've scripted them. The Matt tends to be more the kind of like, we must do, and then the Third Doctor comes in with like the science bit.
He does, I guess. I have noticed he does it quite a bit. But I was trying to, especially during Hunt for Greyhound 1, I wanted to lean much more heavily on those older doctors who were around the Brigadier, and give it a bit more of a grounding in the people who were running it. It was going to feel like a really strange hunt for the Brigadier if it was all sort of 10th Doctor.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's completely the right decision because your game appeals so much to the classic Whovians as well, and the game very much starts with Matt Smith and David Tennant. That I think then rewarding the other Whovians by giving them some proper old school content as you get further in is a good plan.
Oh yeah, it's one of the great things I'm really looking forward to of the next chunk of the game is going much more heavily into the classic stuff. Like I said, we just got the old 10th Planet Cybermen approved, which look awesome, and they're going to come with
the ones from Manchester.
Are they from Mondus, Dacians?
Sorry.
And they're awesome, and they look great, and they look just campy enough with the fingerless gloves and the crazy face masks that they have on. And then we get to do some really cool. I don't want to give away names yet, but it's great when Susan's like, "I've never heard of that companion." I'm like, "Oh, we're far enough back then that we're starting to see stuff Susan doesn't know." It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, and hopefully all the actors and actresses we asked will say yes, and we'll continue to fill up the game with awesome characters.
Out of the classic companions, and I know we normally avoid the, I know I'm going to get this character, type questions, but who are the? Obviously, you always get asked about Donna, but she's a modern companion. Who are the classic characters that you get asked about the most? Now the fourth's in.
We don't really get asked for a lot of specific Romana that comes up a lot. I think people just like saying the name. Who else comes up a lot? We get asked every so often about certain very specific, who would be considered more obscure characters. Like, here's a second Doctor companion that I love. Please put him in the game. Sort of emails. Which
Romana would you put in if you were to do Romana? Or would
you alternative costumes? You haven't been to the Cardiff exhibition, have you? Since it's been rebuilt? No, you wouldn't have, would you?
Not since December. We're going in February.
I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it's the first thing you hear when you walk in. And I know it was in the trailer as well, so I'm not really giving it away. Romana Nana is the voiceover at the beginning as they set the stage for the adventure, which is quite neat. And it's very, the video you see at the beginning is very, much more classically focused than it was before. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Everyone should go there. Everyone should do a pilgrimage to the Cardiff Bay. See him.
I'm barely damaging this guy. Have I got the wrong team? What have I got? No, I haven't got the wrong team.
I don't think he had any higher defense than the ones before him.
Maybe I just haven't put together a big enough combo or with the right colours yet. But I've got enough red. If I focus on reds, I should be. There's a lot to think about because, like, right now I'm just thinking, right, how many combos can I make irrespectively of colour? But then on top of that, you also need to think, do I need to heal up? In which case I need to prioritise that combo of pinks over the combo of greens. And then I need to think about, well, if most of my characters are red, so I need to prioritise red combos over blue combos. But I also need to think about how many combos I can make all at the same time. Plus, on top of that, how can I make any cross shapes or lines to get my additional combos? And by the time you've done that, your head explodes a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's where the fun of the game comes from, though. It gets very, very technical, which is why, as a format, why we're really drawn to it. Because Susan and I are very hardcore gamers, and we love the idea that this can keep growing and become more and more complex, and you can gently lead people through it so they understand all that complexity.
I understand all that complexity, Lee. Don't worry, that's why you've got me on these streams. See, look at that. 4 combo, 5 combo, 6 combo. See, that's why I'm here.
No damage. There you go.
He's just given me a load of reds with which to beat his own face in. Isn't that lovely of him?
There you go. Change the yellow and clear the whole board.
If I power up the green attacks and then change those green attacks into red attacks. Uh-huh. So you like...
I'm learning something new every day. So now you should focus on clearing the yellows and the blacks, because everything else will just sort of fall into place. I find it much better to try to think about these boards that way when you have a majority of one color, rather than trying to make the best red matches possible.
So it must be possible here to clear this whole
board.
If
you start, let's get the 3 in the bottom left, and then get the 4 on the right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Start with that red and go down through the yellow, so they're done.
Yeah, and then up and make the 4 on the right horizontally against the side of the screen. and then through the middle and up gives you the yellows, and then you could push those yellows to the left and bring the black down. You might be able to get that black into position, but that should give you, a good chunk of the board clear. I don't know what your perks are.
Well, if I manage to clear everything below the blacks, will all three of those blacks fall to the bottom in sync and clear each other? Is that how the dropping works? So in theory, we don't need to line up the blacks. We just need to make sure there's going to be nothing at all below them.
I would try, it's great to sit here and talk for 15 minutes, but, I think your gut thought was the right one. And clean that, go up there, get that.
They drop, they go to blacks. Woo! And he's gone.
Huzzah!
Oh, huzzah! There we go, almost there. Now keep up the pressure.
This was paradox after paradox. Oh, there's 5 waves. It must get harder. This is the big boss fight at the end of Greyhound 1 before you escape.
Fighting paradoxes. Can I ask you a Doctor Who related question rather than a Doctor Who Legacy related question?
Sure.
There was a very cool thing on the Radio Times website at the moment, which for those of you who aren't in the know is a BBC magazine about TV and stuff, despite it being called Radio Times. And there's a poll on there at the moment for you to which is the greatest modern Doctor Who episode ever, and you have to go into each season and choose your personal favorite episode of each season. Can I link you to it and get your thoughts on what you might vote for in each place?
Sure, send it over.
I'll put the link into the channel and people can have a look as well. I was doing it last night with someone in the channel, and we were kind of, politely bickering about how the other person was wrong.
Link? Where's the link?
I haven't done it. Hang on. Here we go. It's called "What is the best Doctor Who episode of the modern era?" And I shall paste that one to you, and I shall paste that into the channel. And apparently I turned down the game sound and succeeded in turning the game sound off completely. So let me see if I can fix that.
Wait, you want me to go through each of these? Starting with season 1?
You don't have to go through all of them, just whenever you get bored, but that's what we did. But it might be fun to do it as people. So I'm clicking on the season 1 link, and you've got all the season 1 episodes there. You only get one vote. It's a tough one. What would you vote for there?
And
it'd be interesting.
There's so many good ones in that season. Well, Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways.
Oh, you wait till you get series 3 and series 4. It's heartbreaking to vote
Bad
for
Wolf
one.
Parting of the Ways is awesome as a 2-part and introduced so many great ideas and people.
Captain Jack on how to look good naked,
exactly.
for example.
Although Empty Child and Dr. Dances is one of my favorites because it's just creepy enough. And it's really, I love the London World War II stuff. As you know, because I've set War of the Worlds in World War II London. So Empty Child and Dr. Dances would be my probably second. And third would probably be Dalek, because I thought it was a great reintroduction to the Daleks. I felt very alien-y, the single lone Dalek at the end. I'm going to go for Bad Wolf and Parting.
I don't think the Daleks have ever been... I don't think the Daleks in the modern era have ever been as scary as they were in that first episode where they originally brought them back.
So far, Empty Child Dances is winning by 51%, and Bad Wolf Parting the Ways is at 22%.
I voted Empty Child Dr. Dances just because they're both brilliant, and I agree Bad Wolf Parting the Ways is brilliant as well, but it's iconic. I think the Doctor Dances one with all the "Are you my mummy" stuff. They even quote that in Doctor Who itself because it's so iconic. And it is. I think if I was to say to someone, "Oh yeah, the Parting of the Ways episode," there might be this little quizzical, "Which one's that one?" And then they'd remember. But as soon as I say the Empty Child, everyone goes, "Oh yeah," it's like one of those. If you're a Doctor Who fan,
that was Moffat's first episode, wasn't it? That he wrote.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Anyway, season 2. Well, Girl in the Fireplace is in there, which, as you know, is Susan's favorite episode, and I love it. And actually, Girl in the Fireplace.
Such a girl. There's so many girls around me. It upsets me that people are voting for Girl in the Fireplace.
It's going to be in the next chunk of the story, and it's in Bigger on the Inside.
Really? What are we going to do? Take on
We will be
fireplaces?
fighting fireplaces. Actually, in Bigger on the Inside, I think you have to shut down the fireplace to stop them spawning, is what we're doing.
8-bit fireplaces.
But Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. Oh, I want to give away a huge spoiler. It's to do with that episode, and it's going to be awesome. But in a few weeks, you'll understand why
I debated voting for Rise of the Cybermen because I think that whole thing with Lumic is really well done, and the Cybermen are scary. All the like converting people stuff. But then I voted for a different one in the end. But Rise of the Cybermen I think is actually pretty close to the bottom. Like it didn't get many votes at all.
Planet Satan Pierce is great. I really like the Ood stuff that he did there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go for Girl in the Fireplace. Is number one with 35%.
He's number one. Yeah. There's a lot of girls out there voting for it, and Welsh computer game designers.
Season 3. It should turn into a game of what has everyone voted for.
Probably. Well, yeah, but I guess if you vote for it, then you're, as long as you don't think that your choice is avant-garde or counterculture. Right,
Doctor Who Season 3. I wasn't a big fan of Runaway Bride. Smith and Jones I liked. I watched that recently.
This one's heartbreaking to vote for one. There's just so many good stuff there, especially when, oh crap.
Gridlock is great. Daleks and
And then once you get towards the end, look, Human Nature, Family of Blood, Blink, Utopia, Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords. How do you pick one out of that?
The one I watched recently, and I was watching with my son, we really enjoyed, watched it a couple of times, is 42. So I've seen that a lot of times recently. I really like 42. I think it's a really tightly written episode in a format that you don't normally see on Doctor Who. 42 minutes sort of in real time to get something done. But Human Nature and Family of Blood...
It's like 24 meets
Human Nature and Family of Blood is one of my favourite serials of all Doctor Who time. I really, really, really enjoy it, and you will see the Family of Blood early on in Bigger on the Inside, actually.
Oh, that's cool! Do they put their heads on one side and snip?
What's great is the guy who's doing all the pixel art has drawn, father of mine, mother of mine, son and daughter of mine. So you get to fight those lot, plus really creepy, what are they called? Sand and Fields, hobos. Scarecrows. So I'm going to vote for Human Nature Family Blood. But the Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords, it was amazing. Johnson was amazing in that. It was the rebirth of the Master. That might get high on the list. Of course, everyone chose.
I was watching the other day. I was avoiding marking at work, and I watched the Derek Jacobi regeneration scene. Oh, and obviously he's only the Master for a few seconds, really, but he's bloody scary in those.
This is a discussion we've been having because I don't feel right putting him into the story as a Master in our story up alongside Missy and John Simmons and all the other amazing people who have played the Master for a huge amount of time, or at least much more than the 30 seconds that he became the Master before he regenerated. It feels like he should be an ally rather than an enemy because he spent his whole life trying to save the human race up till the last few seconds. That's a discussion I'm having with Peter right now is how do we treat Professor Yana as we try to...
But there should be at some point, the Master must have turned into Professor Yana. So in theory, there is an evil Derek Jacobi before there's a good Derek Jacobi. But we've just never seen it. A bit like, it would have to be a bit like, that Engines of War book, the other stories of the War Doctor. There must be other stories, in quotes, of that Master. I mean, why does he hide, for example? Where all that kind of stuff. So I think, in my view, he is a Master, but he's certainly a difficult one to write for because we know so little about him, other than the fact that he hid.
Blink won, of course it did, because Blink's amazing, and was the only Doctor Who episode that's won. What did it win? It won some big award in the UK. It's spectacular. But second is Human Nature and Family of Blood. So at least it came in second. I'm not going to go through all these. People are going to be so bored of me just talking about episodes of Doctor Who.
God, people are going to be bored of you talking about Doctor Who.
Voyage of the Damned, which we now have Astrid in, which is awesome. Partners in Crime, Fires of Pompeii, Pants of the Dirt,
I love
Strash and Poison Sky, Doctor's Daughter.
Come with me.
Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. Stolen Earth, Journey's End. I'd have to go with Silence in the Library of Forest of the Dead. Because it's just heart-wrenching. It's so...
Remind me again how you guys are planning on doing the Vashnarada in Legacy. Are you going to have them seen?
They're going to be shadows. So we've drawn the backgrounds, and there will be fake shadows added to the backgrounds as enemies that you can destroy. A good example is there's going to be a level where you fight. What was his name? Dave? Who turned out the lights? Was his name Dave? I can't remember. This is the guy. So in the middle of the room is a spacesuit with a skeleton in it, and then off that are 4 shadows. And it's going to be a boss fight where these shadows, have to be taken down one by one. So we're planning on doing sort of fake shadows with this shadows ability that stops all incoming damage that River has to negotiate and get through. Silence Library, Forest of the Dead. Did we win? Who won? Yes. Forest is number 1, 35.63%.
But I voted for Midnight. Silence of the Library is great, but Midnight for me is so memorable. There's so many, that's scary as hell, and the whole quoting pie to each other. Brilliant acting as well. And
which of the specials? 2000 specials. I have to go with Next Doctor.
Really, I never really got on with that one. It felt forced.
Yeah.
What do you like about
it?
We
have something from it coming in the next season. There's some cool stuff coming from the Next Doctor I don't want to give away, but I'm going to vote for that because it's awesome. I can't tell you. I can't explain why, but I'm going to vote for that. You'll be like, when you see it, you'll be like, oh, that's why you voted for that, and nobody else would have voted for that. We're in season 6 now. Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon.
Season 5.
Did I skip one? I'm going to skip one.
Although, to be honest, I have to say, and apology, I'm sure someone here will take me down for this, I actually went into the season 5 stuff, and because when the BBC are going to total these up, they're going to look at the total number of votes. So it's not like the winner of each goes forward, it's the total number of votes. And I actually got into season 5, and I just thought, there is nothing in season 5 which touches some of the best episodes that I voted for in the other series, so I didn't vote for any and backed out. So now, if you wish to shout at me now in the chat, you may feel free, but I just felt that the quality of that series is not, looking in comparison to 4 and 3, series 4, 3 and 4 and 2, and what you've seen recently with Capaldi, it's just not the same level.
I'm going to go with Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone because I thought it was a really nice 2-part, and they did a really good job bringing the angels back into a really scary, tense situation where people's lives felt like they were on the line, and the Doctor has to do some very, very clever stuff to get through there. But
there's one thing you never put into a trap.
The Doctor is currently winning.
Hold on.
That's a good one. Vincent
Which one's winning though? I never got on with Vincent the Doctor. I was talking to someone last night and they were like, oh my god, it's amazing. And I was a bit like, it feels really slushy to me. Maybe I'm just dead inside.
Season 6. Well, the Doctor's wife, just for being spectacularly good. And, Neil Gaiman awesomeness and Idris awesomeness. But I really enjoyed Good Man Goes to War. I don't know what the common... I thought it was an amazing... It was the mid-season ending, wasn't it? Didn't it go on break after Good Man Goes to War? And it was such a thing to finish on. The stuff that was, I don't want to give it away because, there's some huge River Song stuff that you don't know until that episode. And it all came together really, really well. And there were so many twists in that one episode. It was just twist, twist, twist. And the Doctor puts an army together. And the introduction with Rory, taking out the 12th Cyber Fleet, is just great. So I really do enjoy that episode. The Girl in Waited, again, The Girl in Waited is another, heartstring pulling, let's go with Good Man Goes to War.
The Doctor's wife, I know some people like the Idris stuff a lot, and the Idris stuff for me is okay, and I get why it's such a important part of like Doctor's relationship with his TARDIS, but I really like House from that episode. I think he's a chilling bad guy who you never see, you just hear with a very kind of deadpan, unemotional voice that kind of just, the way they've done the kind of sound effects for the House, it kind of just goes through.
I totally agree. I think what it did really well, and you don't see it very often, is that the Doctor was put in real, like, I'm going to lose my TARDIS danger. Like a level of danger that would stop him being the Doctor. You know what I mean? It was his planet that eats TARDISes. Yeah. Basically, it eats Time Lords, and you've just landed on it. Like that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and the fact that there's like a trap out there for Time Lords that just sucks them in and absorbs them is horrible.
Next season.
And stitches them back together.
The Winter Wardrobe. Simon the Dalek. Dinosaurs on Spaceship. I don't know.
So what did you vote for in Series 6 in the end?
What did I vote for? I can't remember. I did say it. I have to skip back and see what was it.
Or did you vote for A Good Man
Oh,
Goes
it was
to
Good
War?
Man Goes to War, which was second. So other people, it's not just me, other people like it too. Season 7's tough because the last three are Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's some other good stuff in Season 7, but those last three are so important for the plot and, the anniversary special and all that kind of stuff. I think the rest of it's
If
not
Night
really
of the
looking.
Doctor was there, I would have voted for that. That's true, right?
Of course. A bit of Eighth Doctor, of course, has to get your top vote.
Maybe Day of the Doctor. It has to be the 50th, right? What else really carries the weight? The story, the change, the different Doctors in there. Like,
Who knows?
I got to vote for that. Yeah, and it's winning by nearly 60%. Because everyone feels the same way. Season 8. Here we go. The last one. The first. Has everyone left? It's just me and you left now. Nobody else.
No, there are 114 people
I
listening
apologize to each and every one
us
of you.
discuss the Day of the Doctor. I would argue, though, just to be pedantic on this poll, that Day of the Doctor, the 50th special, and the Regeneration aren't part of
I'm
Series 7.
surprised you put them in there, but where else are you going to put them? You could have put the specials together.
Yeah, they're kind of categorizing them there by year. And if you look at the whole of Series 7, I think my personal favorite is Asylum of the Daleks. I really like the interplay with Oswald as the Dalek and the whole souffle thing and those scary like skeleton Daleks with the things in their foreheads and things. Plus, there's the Angels Take Manhattan in there, which I know is always a popular one with the end of Rory and Amy. There's the Bells of St. John is good fun. I quite liked Cold War. I felt Clara was useless in it because you just basically moaned for the whole thing. But I really liked the Ice Warrior and his kind of like pride interaction and the very claustrophobic atmosphere in the submarine was nice.
Wasn't another Gattis episode? There are some stunning writers over there that Doctor Who get their hands on. There's so many good writers who work for the show. The last season. I want to see Dark Water and Death in Heaven because...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I've just got to a really nice bit of your plot line. All the doctors in turn, in silence, have walked up to the Brigadier and hugged him. Each of them except the third incarnation, and he whispered something in the Brigadier's ear, and they both laughed, breaking the silence. But it was a bit too early to celebrate, as it turned out. That's a nice bit of writing, Lee.
Thank you. Thank you.
I watched Battlefield the other day, which is the one with the old Brigadier.
Oh, yeah. How was that? Oh, Here's a New Enemy. You haven't seen these before. They're called Time-Sundered Whispermen, and they have a new ability. You might have seen in the expert levels, Sunder, that stops stuns and poisons from hitting them and wipes them if they have them on them. And he has that nasty rate attack system we put in, which hits you for a very specific amount of your health. So I should do one where the enemy hits you for 99% of your health, and they hit first. And you struggle back from that. They just hit you for like 100 every time.
Just undid the combo at the bottom. But I got all the rest. Good solid 5. Which brings us to Series 8.
Yeah. So this is a weird one because it was the first season where as a fan I would sit there and watch them all and love them. This was a season where beforehand I had a lot of advanced knowledge of bits and pieces of the episodes, so we could build the stuff that needed to be built, and we understood the setting of the characters, so we could create battles that felt sort of in the right place at the right time, where the enemies were doing the right things, instead of just trying to guess what could possibly be happening. So when we got to Dark Water, Death in Heaven, Peter told me some bits of the story and gave us some assets and explained how certain things would work. And the big beats, I was just like, how will they get to a point where these things happen? If you think of all the big beats in Dark Water and Death in Heaven, there are some explosive things that happen. Missy has been collecting race and turns out to be the master, and then Clara has a very huge specific arc, and Danny has a huge emotional and physical arc to get through. And the amount of the stuff they do in what is much less than 2 hours is quite incredible, and they get through it without you. I don't think they lost me during it, which is the hardest thing when you're trying to get through all that stuff is rolling your eyes like, oh really? But it made sense and it really worked for me, and I thought it was a lovely end to the 8th series, and with some lovely nods to Unit. and to the Brigadier, and it felt really nice, especially on the tails of us releasing a huge Brigadier epilogue a few months before, and suddenly the ending of the new series was just Brigadier centric, was sort of lovely. So I'm going to go with Dark Watcher and Death in Heaven,
which I think was one of the most popular. I think I would go for one of the my two favourite from the series were, for completely different reasons, was Listen, because all of it's very kind of very, there is no enemy. It's all in the Doctor's head. It's very stylistically kind of filmed, and you've got that very unusual but thoughtful visit to the Doctor's childhood at the end. But I think I voted in the end for Mummy on the Orient Express, which when we were doing the series reviews at the time, it just, for me, it felt like the kind of complete Doctor Who episode. It had the monster of the week, but done in a really good way. It had comedy. It had sly nods here and there. It was, you had characters from the past, characters from the future. There were scary bits, and it was like the quintessential package. Because sometimes, like I was talking about this last night, but like sometimes the best Doctor Who episodes are the ones that don't follow the normal formula. So, for example, Blink is a great Doctor Who episode, but it's not a normal Doctor Who episode. It doesn't have like a traditional monster which the Doctor's trying to get rid of. The Doctor's barely in it, or Midnight is not a normal Doctor Who episode, or The Day of the Doctor is not a normal Doctor Who episode, whereas Mummy on the Orient Express is completely a normal Doctor Who episode, but it just does that normal formula really, really well, which is why I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I think that was the great thing about season 8 is they were all interesting episodes that had really unique ideas. And that was when I first started talking to Peter about it. It came through really strongly that Deep Breath is great and very different, and you have the whole lead into the 12th Doctor, and it turns out they're the ones from USS Marie Antoinette, or whatever the hell the spaceship was called, which I thought was really great. Into the Dalek is at a high level, is amazing. Going inside a Dalek, brilliant. Nobody's done it in 50 years. That's amazing. Robot of Sherwood, what a lovely take on these traditional things. And then Into Listen, which is so unique, and then Time Heist, a time travel bank heist, I really, really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't like Time Heist, and I think each of them was really, a couple of them. I think In the Forest of the Night was at a high level really, really interesting. I think it's probably the weakest of the season for me. In the Forest of the Night. It had a great high-level idea. It didn't quite pan out. Flatline, great high-level idea. 2D enemies, amazing. Kill the Moon, high-level idea. The two Earthlings have to decide the fate of the planet, and there's a creature in our moon. They're all really, really, really interesting from a high level. Where Moffat obviously sat down, and the first idea on the first line on a bit of paper is crucial, and these are all awesome and defined by that first line. But Dark Watcher and Death in Heaven, I think, I was really surprised by how much I loved that ending of that season. Anyway, so
I moaned about this on the stream when I did it, but I really enjoyed the episodes. My moan about it was the fact that the Cybermen were in the trailer. If the Cybermen had not been in the trailer, I would have loved the first half of it a lot more, because so much of it was about revealing the Cybermen. Yeah. And I know it revealed the Master, which is kind of the counter argument, but I would have liked them to reveal both. Why not?
Yeah. There is that piece. It's supposed to be really suspenseful. The water starts draining out, and then you realise, and he mentioned the exoskeletons earlier. It's nicely led up to. It was a shame that it was.
Yeah, exactly. There were all sorts of lovely clues in there to it being Cybermen, but as a viewer who's obviously kept in touch with the trailer from the week before, there's no suspense there. You're ahead of the Doctor in that one rather than taking the journey with him. So, I have said, and I don't know if I will, but I have said I will try and avoid watching, for the next season, I will try and avoid watching the trailers at the end of each episode so I can enjoy the week after more kind of purely, but whether I'll be able to resist, my little preview, who knows?
I hope the game's still around and we're doing something awesome alongside the new season. But on the other side, it means I have to know stuff that I don't want to know. Who, and I'd love to sit down and watch the season properly.
So with the Torchwood thing, and obviously you're going to avoid answering all my questions there, do you foresee yourselves almost kind of working on 2 games simultaneously, and will you add a third person to your marriage to cope?
I think we'll be okay. The team at Seed is going to expand. We'll build a separate team out for Torchwood. Right now, I've spent a lot of the last few months getting the story written for the rest of this year. So I'm hoping to get so much of that out of the way that I can really jump on Torchwood a little bit more. And we're hiring another designer at Seed who's just come on board. He's going to be helping out on Legacy as well. So it shouldn't. I don't think anyone will see any difference. We'll be working more, but it's I want to keep the art style similar. I think Pest is amazing. I think doing a Torchwood game, be able to bring in some of the assets into Legacy is a good thing, but we want to go darker with it in a way that Torchwood was a very dark version of Doctor Who. People went to bars and drank and walked in the rain. In the sort of noir version of Cardiff. I want to head towards that more than the brighter art style we have in Legacy right now.
Are you going to have like swearing and boobies? Like, is it going to be the Grand Theft Auto of Doctor Who, like Torchwood?
Actually, Susan and I had a long conversation about this last night. We still need to talk, about
swearing and boobies. That's amazing.
It was actually it was about whether you could go out and get drunk in the game. I had an idea for the storyline in Torchwood where there's a lot of drinking happens. And Susan said, well, you see them in bars all the time in Torchwood. I'm like, okay, yeah, but could we do this with it? So we have been talking about where our constraints are going to be in terms of content. But like I said, this has been something we've been talking about for a couple of months now. There was a very, very big conversation that needed to happen, that just happened, that we're thrilled about. We weren't going to do the game unless the conversation happened and the person was happy with where this is going to go, which is awfully vague. But
no, you have to be vague at these negotiation stages. But the whole kind of remit behind Torchwood, though, was that it would be the adult Doctor Who. I mean, from the very first scene where I think there's a policeman that blasts out an F-bomb in the first couple of minutes, and then it's highly sexualized, it's violent in places. There's a lot more character that dies. So if you're gonna do a game about Torchwood, I mean, even I think in later seasons it actually becomes less sexualized, and actually the series gets stronger. Like, Children of Earth, is more about the kind of a very, very dark plotline. But if you were to do a Torchwood game that didn't reflect the darkness of Torchwood, you're almost not doing a Torchwood game to an extent.
Exactly,
you're more kind of
exactly, and that's one of the things we're keeping in mind is it needs to feel more cinematic and darker and more. It's not a free-to-play game, so we don't have to balance it that way. There's no rare drops. You play a level and you beat it and you get a drop. And we've got to do less characters but more costumes and more equipment that you can sort of take into situations with you. So it'll feel, while the core of the game is going to be the same Match 3 style game, it should feel very, very, very different and more like sitting down to watch a movie rather than jumping through the history of 50 years of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way we would do it is if it was going to be the best that we could possibly make it, and all the best people that we think should be part of this are going to be involved. Which is why it's taken so long. But we're going to line up this. We're going to do it once. We're going to do it properly. In the same way as Doctor Who, we had one chance to do Doctor Who properly, and we're really happy with what we made. We have one chance of possibly doing this Torchwood game, and we have to do it properly.
How separate would your involvement be to the BBC? Like, because I assume that the Doctor Who and Torchwood teams are the same people, are they not? Or is it treated by the BBC as a?
I don't know
franchise?
how internally. It's treated as a different franchise. But I don't know how much overlap there is between them, given the massive overlap of the canon of the two shows. On our end, I'm assuming Peter will run the producing for us from the BBC on Torchwood, and our interaction would just be we'll just all have more work to do. There'll be throw Peter with Doctor Who conversations, and then it'll be okay. Now we're moving on to Torchwood, and we have to talk about this Torchwood stuff. But it's exciting.
Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be? Have you thought about the work on a personal thing? Because sometimes in chat you guys sound wonderfully devoted to the game, but you sound like you really need a break. I mean, how have you thought about how the workload will affect you, and have you thought about, as Tiny Rebel Games, we're going to be able to cope with support for 2 different games, for example, Facebook pages for 2 different games, for example?
We also do some consulting because we need it to keep the company going. So if Legacy starts to do better, we can drop the consulting, and that'll take some stuff off. If we can get Torchwood funding, that'll take that off our plates and free up some time. So there's other bits and pieces we have to do as a company that hopefully we can jettison along the way. But it's a massive thing we talk about. We set the company up specifically for the 2 of us to make games together. We don't really want to have employees or anyone else. So the company scales to the size that we can do it, and we just make sure we do things properly and don't scale too big too quickly. And now that Legacy has been out for 15 months, we have a good handle on what needs to be done, and the steps to get things live. Launching something now isn't as terrifying as it was back then, which means we just have sort of extra time from knowing how to do these things. They're not as time costly as they used to be. And there's efficiencies of scale and learning new tech all the time for handling support and things like that. And the community is awesome. It's just the amount of work people do when people have questions on Facebook and they jump in and they help. And it takes so much off our plates. That's awesome too.
I am working my way against these lovely little Whispermen here. I'm still averaging. I'm getting a lot of 7s in terms of the combos, which I'm pleased with. Because thinking about the Torchwood game again, because like you and Susan come across as such kind of lovely, friendly, happy people that I often have to kind of like pinch myself and kind of go, right, yeah, so but Lee was the guy behind one of the Grand Theft Auto games and the bully stuff. So if he wants to go dark, you've got that kind of side of you that can do and embrace the kind of darker side of gaming, and you do it very, very well. Are you looking forward with the Torchwood game to kind of being able to?
I really am. Again? Yeah, I like dark. Not in violent. I think dark would be a fun place to go. There's some dark things coming in the next chapter of the game. I don't want to give away what they are, but dark stuff happens that you wouldn't have seen before in Legacy. It's going to be not in your kids can't play it, but there's some beats in there that certainly would be regarded as a lot darker than we've done before. But Torchwood is really where that's going to kick off a bit. The other thing with Torchwood is I'm not going to write it all. I don't think I'm that good to be able to take on what we have in mind for this game. So I've been putting together a team of writers to help me, and I can't wait to talk about that. But we have some very well-respected writers from comic books who will be part of the project. People involved previously in Doctor Who stuff writing. It's going to be really, really cool. And I love working with other writers. I really do. One of my fun things ever. So hopefully I'll bring some darkness to it, and then they'll just fix it and make it what it should be. Always surround yourself by professional writers when you can.
Let me get a strategy again. Okay, so have a look at my board here. I've got 5 locked gems, which obviously causes the right pain in the arse, and on top of that, I've got fragmented gems. So where would you go with this board?
I'll try to get rid of as many of these locked as possible. So if you start on the black on the far right.
I thought these were the locked ones that don't move.
Can you match them? I can't. I got a small screen of yours on my screen. It's tiny. Perhaps making it small. Can they be locked and not moved, or moved and not locked? They look like they can be matched. They can be matched.
I thought those were I think those are the ones that
can't be moved, but they can be matched.
How would you match them?
Other things next
I see what you're saying.
Okay, so if you start with that black and go down one and left across the screen, that gives you the green.
Sorry, which black one are we talking about? Oh, the blue. So start with the blue.
Start with the black on the right-hand side of the screen. And you go down one and then left. That makes 4 greens. Right? And we'll get rid of the greens.
Yeah.
And then you could loop down and get those blues. And then I would go to the top left of the screen and drop that black off to make 3 up in there to get rid of the other locked black one. So you get rid of 2 locks and you get 3 or 4 matches. I think that's a solid move.
Okay, hang on. So this is quite a complicated move. So let me just run through that one in my head again. So I'm going to grab the black and go south and then left. I'm going to loop all the way around through the blues.
Yeah, just go down to the green, then up and then left. Just put those 3 blues in the bottom right-hand corner horizontally.
And then I'm going to kind of whiz through without touching anything, and then kind of loop into the blacks, and then round. You've got to go loop. Unless I'm seeing this wrong,
go up and in, right and down, left. Do 2 loops. Should pull those blacks into line. And you probably get the pinks on the way as well. Okay. You might be able to.
Let's not go crazy.
Go on then.
Come up through that lot, round through that lot, and then I've got a black I can't do anything with, or I could have linked it up if I'd got it in time. Okay, a good solid 3 combo with some...
Getting rid of the locks on this is just as important to free up the board. You're not hobbled by turn after turn of half the board being unusable. The other good thing is to try to drop them to the bottom of the board just to get them out of the way. You have a lot of abilities there.
Yeah. I do. So I can have a little play with that. So I could stun. Increase damage. Convert blue and blue gems and green gems to red. Wouldn't get a huge amount here, but it would with the lock gems. That might actually help me to get some of the combos.
Yeah, you could do that, and then you could clear a lot of reds and a lot of those lock gems.
Although then there's always the lottery with Orson. When I get some of the turns that it's kind of like I'm not entirely sure what to do, I tend to give his one a go.
Do him, and then you can always do the other one to move some of the colours around. Depends on what you get. You'll get a whole pink board or something.
I only seem to change one colour, but maybe it changed a random colour to a random to itself.
Yeah, or change greens. There weren't any greens on the board. It can change things on the board, and it can change the same colour twice. I think. No, it probably can't do that. There are some weird fringe cases. Stuff it can't do.
The two locked gems that are on the right middle kind of top are kind of blocking a lot of movement around the board. So, but I can if I start with one of those red gems on the one of the red gems on the top right, I can just go through the black, and then that'll match up three blacks there, which will take out
3 reds as well at the top. So you'll have 2 blacks and 3 reds. Just take it all the way to the left and then down. And then loop back up to get the blue out of the way.
Yeah, and then I can go down and probably do the blacks on the bottom left-hand side, and then I think
I would leave the red that you're carrying at the bottom, just to the right of the locked red one, because then I'll give you 3 as well, or the yellow one between the 2 reds.
Oh so yeah. That's what you're talking about. So maybe not get those blacks, the second set of blacks, to prioritize clearing the locked red. Good plan. Okay, so here we go then. Pull that one across there. That one through there. There's the blacks. Oh, and in fact, because there was 2 blacks, I can actually go through and get that second red. Oh, nice. Yes.
Oh, lovely. Look at that.
There we go, 1 down. Nice time fragment. Thank you very much. In fact, that's cleared all of the lock stuff just in time for them to give me another one.
Added thought. It goes quiet.
Well, this is what happened last Thursday when I was doing the expert level. I was sitting there all quietly thinking while Susan shouting at Russians.
Don't overthink this. You're in no trouble here. You're not going to get beaten. You just start clearing stuff and doing some damage to this guy.
I appreciate that, but I'm just trying to get myself to that point where I'm not just kind of grabbing a gem and going, and I'm actually just taking that, because there's no time limit, just taking that second to kind of go, so where's the best place to start? Because in a board like this, there's loads of potential starting points. They're all a little bit...
It's a very messy board. I would start on the right with the black one, go left, down, right, down. That'll give you two matches of 3. Left, down, right, down. We'll give you orange.
Oh yeah, because it matches up the pink and the red.
And then you can loop down and up to the top and make the 3 up there. So the match, and then you have a 4x4 space to try to match probably the pinks. Probably get some pinks. But that'll give you a nice efficient way to get through the board.
Whoops. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, takes a nice big chunk out of yourself.
Or stun or something. Nice. What have we got?
What from he's 40% of the enemy's current HP, so it's best to use him on a.
Or do you want a locked board to walk into the next? Is this the last wave or is it another wave?
Oh yeah, but he can't. Once he's got his secondary ability, I can't use the. Stun.
No, I know, but do you think you can burn him down if you use that to get rid of 40% of what he has left?
Oh, I see. Yeah, fair point.
Or you're going to be struggling for 3 or 4 turns trying to do, get rid of these locks.
If we power up the greens as well, then let's do this. In fact, let's go the whole hog. Okay, so we need to match the pinks, the blacks, and the yellows, if possible. I think the yellows will be the one that caused me jip. But if I move a yellow and finish it between the 2 yellows on the top left, Okay, if I start with the yellow on the bottom right, just could do a quick loop around the bottom to loop up the blacks, then go up the right-hand side and push through the second set of blacks. Quickly then put the pinks together, and then hopefully end up in the middle of the two yellows. How does that sound?
That sounds fine. I think there's a bunch of ways of doing this. They're all quite messy.
It is a bit messy, but let's see how we do. Okay, right, here we go. We're going around there like that. You can go all the way down here. I'm going to go down there twice so I can end up in the middle, and then that should be all of the reds and all the blacks.
Look at that. That was masterful. What a great move. Well done, Andy.
And he's dead. He's dead. Oh, and you were right. That was a good tip on the whole, like, stop him locking me, because that would then screw up this turn as well. Because obviously some abilities sustain beyond the death of the enemy itself, like poison and time bombs and all that lot.
Start with the pink at the bottom left. Go right. Go right two. No, go right two. Down one. Left one. Up one. I'll give you reds and the yellows. On it. Yeah. And then if you go if you keep going to the right and then up, you get the reds, and then you go left through that little green, that gives you the greens.
No, even better than that. If I come up through the yellows, keep going up through the blacks, and then left, and then as I then go across the top, I would then push the blues.
Go on, there's a bunch there. There's a bunch of these you can make. There's a lot of stuff.
But your little move at the beginning, I think, is actually the master stroke. It's matching the bottom yellows together as well. So that goes around there like that. Link those together like that. Do that one there like that. Can I get both of these? There's the blues, and now I'm trapped to get the greens. But that's
there you go.
Still a lovely combo.
That's a great hat you're wearing. I've got the wrong screen open. I can't see your hat.
It's I assume you have one too, but Susan was saying
I did. We were talking about it this morning. Yes, it got left behind. I'm going to pick it up in the summer. We had no room left in the suitcases, and I didn't feel like sitting on a plane for 11 hours wearing a hat.
There's lots of people.
We bought like a whole suitcase of Doctor Who. The amount of stuff, and I had to leave stuff there. Peter sent me this third Doctor playset, or the three. No, it wasn't. It was the three Doctors. What did he get? Oh, I had to leave it there. It was sad. I had to leave some Doctor Who stuff behind, and the hat, and the Risk Dalek Invasion of Earth. I had to leave in the UK as well. I had to pick it all up in the summer.
My God, you had to leave so much behind.
Sad.
I only got the hat, but I don't care. It's awesome. I mean, it doesn't fit my head at all. It looks like I don't know, like one of those like gangsters from the 1930s that has the hat like sitting on top of the head.
You like one of those guns, the old school machine gun.
Exactly, a little. I'm debating taking it to Cardiff with me for the Addy meet and just like wearing it when we do the Doctor Who tour. Just like going all around Cardiff with this Doctor Who, fourth Doctor Who. Should go in costume. Hat. I'm demanding that everyone goes in costume, but at least one person has said no.
Wait, whose voice did you just do? Who said that? Right, I gotta go because I just realised I've been on here an hour and 15 minutes, and Sue just opened the door and glared at me. So much like, it's Saturday, you shouldn't be doing this. Well, it might be
well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you had.
Well, no, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me, and it's been fun watching you evolve your gameplay a little bit and how you think.
Well, I feel that when I was saying, sorry if I'm repeating myself. I just feel that like when the game first came out, I was like one of the best players. Hence why I made the tutorial, and now everyone's better than me. And now I need to fix this, and then start getting the tutorials out again. But I need to stop being the laughing stock that keeps dying on the live streams. But I'll get there. I did it with Battlefield 3. I was terrible at Battlefield 3, and then I got pretty damn awesome and made a lot of tutorials. So I'm now going to get myself to being the Doctor Who Legacy Masterclass.
Enjoy the rest of the story, and I hope you get through ready for the new storyline levels that are coming soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Take care and
thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Well, that was a nice little treat, wasn't it, everyone? And loads of gossip on the new game and stuff. Very cool. It's nice having it. Sometimes it's not. I really enjoy the Thursday live streams, and because they're kind of like hectic, and they're like, there's loads going on. Like special guests and giveaways, and the news and all that kind of stuff. But it's also sometimes nice to have a nice, more relaxed, just to chat about things Whovian and talk strategy and stuff. So it's good to have this. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. And if you didn't, get the hell out. But I'll just shake it off and all that kind of stuff. I believe it's the dance. Oh, I've still got my label on the back of the hat. Excellent. Right, let's finish this level off then.